भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम्। हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् यहम् अहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति। हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता पवनचलनरोधा आत्मनिष्ठो भवति। देहं मृण्मयवत् जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावकर। कोऽहं भायुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्। सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम्। Namo Namo. In this the Thursday Satsangh from Ramanacentre Center for Learning. As is usual, we will be reading from Guruvachaka Kovai, the work by Muruganar Swamigal. We will be reading 2 verses selected for us, and each verse reading will be followed by a short meditation on its import, and that will be followed by a 10-minute practice of Atma Vicharam. After these 2 segments of reading of the selected verse, the meditation on the meaning, and the practice are over, there will be summing up remarks by our President, Dr. Sharadaka. And today, that will be followed by offering of a Stotram chanting by Revathi, and the offering of flowers will be by Manjunath ji here. We begin the satsang by taking the first verse from Guruvachaka Kovai, verse number 862. 862 we find in the segment meditation on the truth. The other two segments are the preceding segment being investigation into truth, and the following segment after meditation on truth is anubhava or experience of the truth. Verse 862. This is in the subsegment. It is impossible to merge in Shivam except through the loss of the self, the death of the ego. The subsegment is, it is impossible to merge in the Shivam except through the loss of the self, the death of the ego. 862. Destroying one's false ego in consciousness and getting condensed into consciousness is the shining of the pure being. Destroying one's false ego in consciousness and getting condensed into consciousness is the shining of the pure Sat, pure being. Now, Veda Bhavana Sohamityasau Bhavana Bida Pavani Mata Bhavashunya Sadbhava Sustitihi Bhavana Bhala Bhaktiruttama Hridstale Manaha Swastata Priya Bhakti Yoga Bodhascha Nishchitam. The destruction of the ego is best done by Ananya Bhakti, says Bhagavan. Veda Bhavana Soham Ityasa Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shivaha Purno Vibhati Swayam. When the ego is destroyed, into the question, who am I? Then Arunachala Shiva himself, as the Purna Vastu, he rises and shines as I am he. I am the one whom you have been searching for. And in the destruction of the ego, the Purna Vastu, Arunachala Shiva, rises and shines. Now, Veda Bhavana Sohamityasa Bhavana Bida Pavani Mata. Right at the beginning of sadhana, instead of feeling that I am apart from Shiva or Shiva is apart from me, which obviously limits the Supreme Being. We have seen that time and again in Bhagavan, that the best form of worship of Supreme Being is to merge into the Supreme Being and be one with that, so that there is no division in the Supreme Being. The popular story in Bhagavan is the ultimate direction of surrender, which is indicated in that story, where the Bhakti Marga and surrender bring us to. We have listened to that story many times. So it almost is equivalent to japa. These stories or incidents, when we repeat them in the mind, then the mind comes to a particular state which gives the effect of japa sadhana, dhyana sadhana. The story is that there is a wayfarer in those days. He is also a Ganesha Bhakta, and he worships Ganesha every day in the journeys also. In this particular journey, he finds that he has not carried the idol with him. So what he does is that he takes out one round of jaggery that is left at the end of his journey and makes or presumes that to be the Ganesha. and does all his puja to his satisfaction. At the end of it, there should be the offering of Naivedya. And he looks around and he has nothing left in his bag. Therefore, what he does, he pinches a little bit of the jaggery from Ganesha himself and offers it back. Our surrender is like this, says Bhagavan. We pinch from the Purna Vastu and make this play as though we are offering the Parayana, as though we are offering the Japa, as though we are offering the Dhyana. Whereas, right at the beginning itself, one can practice the Abheda Bhakti, the Ananya Bhakti, where the understanding is that the I cannot be apart from the source. So, Veda Bhavana, Sohamityasa, Bhavana Vida, Pavani Bhata, Bhavashunya, Sadbhava Sustitihi. When the ego is stilled, with who am I? When ego is stilled, then that is bhava shunya, because only when all the thoughts are dropped or stilled will the ego be stilled. When the rising thought is followed, the ego is thriving. When the rising thought is left, and for whom is this thought is asked, and when the ego is stilled by who am I, then that is bhava shunya sadbhava sustitihi. There is only the experience of I am without any adjuncts. I am so and so. I am the ego is dropped, and I am the pure existence, the pure being is experienced in the sadhana avastha itself when the stilling of the I is done. That is done with bhava bala. That is the dhyana shakti. It is done with effort. Therefore, that is called as bhakti uttama, uttama bhakti. Who am I is uttama bhakti to Bhagavan. It is the bhakti marga also. It is not apart from bhakti marga. It is ananya bhakti. That stilling of the I. Bhava shunya, when all the bhavas, including the I thought, becomes zero, becomes nothing, and are all still sadbhava, then is your existence not there then? It is very much there, and it is there as the purnatva. There is nothing to limit that existence. Bhavanya sadbhava sustitihi. All the adjuncts of thoughts are at abeyance, and pure existence alone is experienced in the stilling of the I. Bhava shunya sadbhava sustitihi. Bhavana bhala, that has to be done with the tapasvik shakti, the dhyana shakti, which has been gathered by keeping away from thoughts. Bhavana bhala bhakti uttama, that is the uttama bhakti. Bhava shunya sadbhava sustitihi. Ritstale manaha swastata kriya bhakti yoga bodhaschanistitam. That merging into that heart, and when it is without effort and natural, when, as this verse says, the ego is condensed into consciousness, the ego has been destroyed, stilled, all the vasanas destroyed, and the ego has been merged or condensed into that consciousness, then there is the shining of the pure being. Pristale manaha swastata kriya bhakti yoga bodhaschanistitam. That shining of pure I am, the effortlessly I am, the swaprakasha atma, that is the pure being. And that is the import of this brief verse. The three verses that we see as 8, 9 and 10 in Upadeshasara is what has been condensed as one verse here in one sense. Destroying one's false ego in consciousness. Where else can we destroy it? When consciousness is the adhara, the destruction has to take place in consciousness. Does that make us zero? No, it makes us purna and getting condensed into that consciousness. When the ego is the part destroyed, one identifies with the Purnavas. And that itself is the shining of the pure being, the I am, which cannot be taken away, which is untouched, which is unborn, which is unassembled, which cannot be destroyed, which is beyond birth and death, is our very nature. Till such realization that the abiding in that unborn, condensed consciousness, which is pure being, is natural to us, is without effort. Till that is realized, one should make the effort of letting go of thought and stilling the ego with the inquiry, who am I? With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice of Atma Ucharan for 10 minutes. Anatma, can set the time for us. We go on to the reading of the second verse. Verse number 152. This is in the segment Investigation into Truth. The subsegment is the might of Prarabdha. The might of Prarabdha. So there are two notes. So instead of commenting, I will read the verse twice, then read the two notes. That should be enough before we sit for practice. Verse number 152 under the subhead, the might of Prarabdha. Through the light of a lamp, even darkness that exists a long distance away departs. But the darkness that is present at the foot of the lamppost is not removed by the lamp. In the same way, those disciples who stay a long way away from the Guru get redeemed by worshipping in their hearts the Jnana Guru, who cannot be limited by time or space. Even so, some of those who get the good fortune of staying physically close to the Guru, like his shadow, do not become ripe in jnana, losing their ego darkness, but die ripe only in physical age. This is due to their immaturity. I'll read the verse again and then go into the notes. Through the light of a lamp, even darkness that exists a long distance away departs. But the darkness that is present at the foot of the lamppost is not removed by the lamp. In the same way, those disciples who stay a long way away from the Guru get redeemed by worshipping in their hearts the Jnana Guru, who cannot be limited by time or space. Even so, some of those who get the good fortune of staying physically close to the Guru, like his shadow, do not become ripe in jnana, losing their ego darkness, but die ripe only in physical age. This is due to their immaturity. There is a note from Muruganar Swamigal. The Guru is the shining sun of the self, who removes inner darkness through his true nature. In truth, he is the space of consciousness that has inside, who cannot be limited by time or space. The point of the verse is this: those who, through rare fortune, have reached the Jnana Guru should not forget the purpose for which they came to him. By focusing their entire attention on that purpose day and night, and by taking his grace as the primary support, they should definitely obtain the good fortune of the self. Naladiyar says, if he who has obtained the good fortune of associating closely with sages, which cannot be got by any amount of wealth, spends his time wastefully, he is a person of immature mind. There is this note about Naladiyar. Naladiyar is a 400-verse Tamil work, thought to have been composed more than 1,000 years ago, and mostly contains teachings on the morality and the spiritual life. It was composed by Jain monks. There is an incident from Power of Presence, and there is a Padamalai verse. We go through both of them. The import is quite clear. We read the note from Power of Presence. Once, for example, some awkward problems concerning the ashram management cropped up. Without being directly concerned, I, Kunjuswami, was worried about them, as I felt that failure to solve them satisfactorily would impair the good name of the ashram. One day, 2 or 3 devotees went to Sri Bhagavan and put some of these problems before him. I happened to enter the hall while they were talking about them, and he immediately turned to me and asked me why I had come at this time and why I was interesting myself in such matters. I did not grasp the meaning of the question. So Sri Bhagavan explained that a person should occupy himself only with that purpose for which he had originally come to the ashram. He asked me what my original purpose had been. To receive Sri Bhagavan's grace, I said. Then occupy yourself with that only, he said. After a pause, he continued by asking me whether I had any interest in matters concerning the ashram management when I first arrived. I told him that I had not. Then he said, concentrate on the original purpose of your coming here. The ashram can be considered to be the world, and our coming here can be taken to be our birth. The purpose is only self-realization. So, Bhagavan is asking us to focus on the primary purpose for having taken birth. That can be one way of looking at it. The verse from Padamalai, Bhagavan says, forgetting the lofty purpose of coming to the Sadguru that and developing an obsession for the non-self is a deception brought about by immaturity in those who are dull-minded. The import is quite clear that irrespective of whether we are in physical proximity to the Samadhi shrine of Bhagavan or we are very far away, the love with which we practice Atma Vichara, the bhakti for Bhagavan as the Guru, with which we practice his teachings, taking it upon us, reading such incidents where he tells Kunju Swami, why are you concerned with the ashram management? There are people for that. What is the purpose for which you have come? That is the instruction from the verse. That irrespective of how far we are from the Guru's Sannidhi is not restricted by time or place. It is present here and now. With all our heart, all the love that we can muster, all the respect we can muster for having got such a Guru, such an Upadesham, we should sit in sincere practice of his teachings. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice of Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. Ravithima, you set the time for us. Namo Ramana. I request our President, Dr. Shardaka, to give us the summing remarks. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as a self in all beings. Especially today, the second verse, Bhagavan has always said, mind the business for which you have come. And Kanakama would very graphically narrate about how, once a devotee told Bhagavan, Bhagavan, the other devotee over there, he is actually sleeping while meditating. And Bhagavan would be very casually lounging, as we can see, casually, very naturally sitting. Seems would sit up straight. Is it so? Then the devotee would get more interested in explaining, yes, Bhagavan, every day he goes to sleep while meditating. Oh, have you seen it? Bhagavan would ask as if with great interest. Then the devotee would get more excited and say, Bhagavan, he even snores. I have seen, and his head drops. Then Bhagavan would quietly ask him, have you come here to see whether he is sleeping or snoring? Let him sleep or snore. What is it to you? What is it to you? Anyar karyathu ahanredi endru Arivon Padam Vargave says, Shivaprakasham Pillai, stay away from the business of others. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that to follow one's swadharma, what is one's assigned duty, supposing one has been assigned some duty by Bhagavan, to follow that, to do that duty, even though that duty may be very, very simple, is far more important than to take up somebody else's duty and even do it well. So, to do what is one's swadharma is indicated there. Here, Bhagavan has indicated in Ramana Gita that the real swadharma is abidance in the self. So, one must get back to that business, says Bhagavan, and not worry about anything else. Here, the example which Kunjaswami, which was delineated to us by Nanda Kumar Ji, is that don't get involved in the ashram management and affairs, because that is not the purpose, that is not your purpose. And I have heard it said also that to Kunjaswami, Bhagavan would say, you don't do this. But if it was somebody who has been given the role of administration, he would say, do that. So it is the role which Bhagavan has cast upon us, but whichever the role, again, it is important for us to remember that self-abidance, Bhagavan says, it is the true duty, the highest duty, the highest calling. And so for one who wants to turn and abide in the self, no other calling is important. No other duty is cast upon such a one as higher than abiding in the self, says Bhagavan. And even there, it is said that T.P. Ramchandra Iyer, Ganesha Ratna once told that T.P. Ramchandra Iyer, when he saw some devotee in the hall, he was melting, singing some bhajan on Bhagavan, and tears were flowing from his eyes, and his heart was melting. And then T.P. Ramchandra Iyer, while going up on the hill, told Bhagavan, I am not getting such bhakti, Bhagavan, and my heart does not melt. I am stone-hearted. First, Bhagavan joked, I believe, saying that maybe something got into his eyes and that's why his eyes are watering. Then after joking, then he said, why are you worried about what others are experiencing? When you say so-and-so is having bhakti, so-and-so is having something else, it shows an unconscious jealousy that, oh, I would prefer to be like that. But you're not called upon to be like anybody else. You're called upon to abide in the self. You are not called upon to pay attention to anything other than abiding in the self. Bhagavan told him that. So again and again, what Bhagavan does is he draws attention only to the self, to be absorbed in the self, to give oneself up to the self. And self inquiry is that beautiful tool which reminds us whenever we move away to the other in any form. So Bhagavan says, don't even attend to the other in the form of a thought. Your own thought, not somebody else's. Because your own thought is only about another. Sometimes when my sister and I, we share this Anyar Karyata Ahandri, stay away from others' duties and or others' work, then she usually tells me, Akka, the other is our own body, our own identity is the other. So we must not even bother about our own identity. That is not the work for which we have come. The work for which we have come is to abide in the self, says Bhagavan, to lose one's identity in the self, to become, as he says in Ashtakam, he says to dissolve in the self like a sugar doll in the sea. When the salt doll goes to measure the sea, it dissolves in the sea. So Bhagavan says, when we eagerly try to know the truth about ourselves, when we try to turn back to the self with love and eagerness, then automatically the ego will dissolve. It will just be taken, embraced by the self, and it will dissolve into the self by his abundant grace. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Namo Ramanaka.
Namo.
May I request Revathi Ma to chant the Ashtottram for us?
भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितं श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावली अपार सच्चित्सुखवारिराशेः यस्योर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन महोंशेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः। ॐ महौजसे नमः। ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोत्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिणे नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलहृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्छिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादघसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ हृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्या जनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शनसुखमङ्गलमुखसकलजीवहितसम्मुख ब्रह्मसङ्गिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानन्दपुष्ट परममहर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ। बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
जय नमो रमण।
जय
ನಮೋ ರಮಣ ಅಕ್ಕ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.